We are live today. I am Karen Ray. This is Fave Lifestyles and the Fave Biz Society, where we are revolutionizing the way women show up and do business together through our digital marketplace and our business society, where light and breezy marketing is done with ease. And so today we are with Hillary Bassett Ross. Hillary, welcome to Fave and Ask the Expert here.
Thank
Good to have
you.
you.
Excited to be here, Karen.
Yeah, so I'm going to just do a quick little introduction of Hillary. And Hillary is an energy healer, practitioner, coach, and manifestation mentor. Oh my goodness. And her unique approach helps individuals release limiting beliefs, stuckness, stagnation to experience dramatic life upgrades, abundance, improved well-being, and boost self-confidence. Who doesn't need all that?
Who doesn't need all that?
We were chatting before we went live, and Hillary, I'm just so fascinated by this topic of energy, because we were chatting that energy is all around us.
That's right.
And how are we going to use that? So tell us a little bit about you and say hello to the ladies.
Hello. So I'll give you just sort of a little add on to what she said. So I'm an energy healing practitioner. And what I didn't know back before I even really knew what energy healing was, is that our energy is connected to absolutely everything. We were talking about it just a second ago. Energy is everywhere. Our energy is everywhere. We're taking it on, we're exchanging it, we're experiencing it. It's everywhere. And when we really understand how this works and we start to work with it, that is what allows us to help us shift into a completely new paradigm. It helps us identify what's actually been keeping us stuck, energy. And once we get it out of the way, then all of a sudden we're able to move forward and experience a completely different life.
Oh my gosh. So just switching up that energy that you are emitting, is that kind of...
Yes, and I would say it's really what we kind of want to do is figure out what is there that might be holding you stuck. And really, we're looking for some specific things to release them. So we can start with some basics where it's raising your vibration. It's getting more excited about life. It's being more positive and joyful. There's that which really helps. But when we have something that's really truly impeding us, that's causing a problem, there's something that we have taken on that's basically kind of stuck in our energy. And because it's there, that's what's creating the challenge. So there's different layers and varying degrees. So there's a lot you can do on your own, but when things get tricky and things are really challenging, that's sometimes when you want to bring in a professional who knows how to look and knows how to find it and knows how to release things.
And also can walk with you once you are doing those things, how to use that. And so, yes, oh my gosh. So I think life is so much easier with guides, if you will, and to invest into ourselves. So I'm so glad that you're here, because I know a lot of ladies, especially entrepreneurs, you know what, we get stuck around that money piece, that money relationship. We have some things that are keeping us stuck from moving forward. So I'm really glad that we're talking about this today. And so our topic today is the energy behind your finances, how and why abundance goes way beyond the mindset. Wow. So let's say, what are some of the most overlooked aspects of your financial life? So let's just kind of introduce this topic here.
Absolutely. So what we don't realize, what we really overlook, and it's really not quite mainstream knowledge yet. So that's very normal for people to sometimes be hearing this for the very first time. When I was first learning this, I didn't really recognize how connected all of this was. So if it's the first time you're hearing it, it's very normal. But basically what happens, because money is something that we require for our survival, it gets really complicated. In addition to that, because we've grown up observing our parents and their relationship with money, they grew up with their, whatever, over time, over generations, some of these patterns, some of these mindsets, some of these beliefs, some of these challenges actually kind of get sometimes passed on energetically, if you will. And in addition to that, we all have our own personal experience with money. So because it's so tied to our survival, because we also have this, in our culture, we sort of have this viewpoint that those who have are better and those who don't are, there's all kinds of just obscure mindsets and ideas that float around. And as a result of all of it, we tend to have some energetic stuff that goes along with money. In fact, it's actually really, I like to say it's essentially a hotbed of opportunity for energetic issue. So I guess I want to say that if this is going on for you, please don't be upset because it's far more common. I mean, essentially, we all have an energetic relationship with money. The question is, what is that relationship? And is that a healthy relationship? And if not, what is in there energetically that needs to be released so we can shift it into a healthy relationship? So the most overlooked aspect of your finances is actually your energy. So we tend to, we're very familiar with, I'm supposed to save, I'm supposed to do these things. There's sort of a regimented understanding of what appropriate behavior around money should be. And I think that's great. That's wonderful. But underneath it, there's all types of energetic markers and signatures with each individual. And those are truly what are calling the shots. And so that's why we always want to really look at this. It's way beyond mindset, because what we find is that there are some people who can do the mindset practices and do all of the things, but the results don't change. And then what happens is that person thinks it's their fault, when really that's usually a really telltale sign that there could be something going on with the energy.
So this is so interesting, because as you are looking at your finances and your energy, or just looking at, I mean, I know myself, I'm trying to do this, do that. And if you do these steps, you will get to this point. And so I'm a big doer anyway. So, and, I have just recently kind of looked inside and it's like, oh, maybe you have to look at this a little bit differently. So kind of what would be the one first thing a woman could do to kind of even just become aware of maybe become aware of that energy, rather than, just kind of switching, because we hear so much, oh, change your thoughts. But like you said, if you're not changing the underneath stuff, whether it's the beliefs and the energy and all that, to come at it really from a different perspective. So what's kind of the first thing that a woman should do around that?
I think one of the first things to do is to kind of check in with yourself. So maybe do a little journaling exercise to start to discover what's actually there. So the first thing is, I have to let you know, it's going to be different with every single person. So what challenges your friend and your sister is not going to be what challenges you necessarily. So that's why we always kind of have to look to ourselves first. And it's helpful to, write down some questions or answers to some questions. What do I believe money is? What does money mean? What has it been like for me to have money? What has been required of me to get money? What happens, and I'm going to let you know, this is really, really important for women to talk about, because it's really only, compared to the number of years humanity has been on the planet, it's really quite recent that women truly are 100% financially independent, can do their own thing. There's a lot of stuff that goes on with money and women, and we are all really, we're all here trying to release that. We're all here trying to work through it. So what I see really often is a lot of women have grown up being taught that they had to get it from a man. I was taught that as a child. I was taught that hopefully I will marry rich is what I was taught. Wow. Okay. And I grew up in the 80s. That's not too long ago.
Yeah.
There's so many, in addition to that, because women have struggled to earn the same amounts, there's just women have had to go through so much to get where they are. And it's so understandable that all of us as women are working to release all of this stuff. So the first thing I really recommend is really spending some time doing a little journaling, sitting down and seeing what comes up for you. as you look through this, it will probably indicate like, hey, I've had a little bit of challenge here. Like this hasn't been a fluid, easy, everything just falls in my lap. I'm doing all the things and the results just like they're everywhere. There's usually more challenge. And so one of the telltale signs that we look for is there a consistent pattern of challenge? Is there a consistent pattern of struggle? Is there a consistent pattern of it's never easy, fluid, or safe, necessarily safe? Sometimes you have to subject yourself to unkind managers in order for you to actually receive your money? Do you have to get up at 4 in the morning and you have to slave away to get your money? This has been the history of what most people have dealt with.
Yeah.
And it's a brand new time. So what happens is because a lot of people have experienced things like this, it sort of gets into their patterning and it just sort of continues when actually there's some energetic stuff that needs to be released so those circumstances can shift.
Wow. Wow. So, ladies, we have some work to do. So, it would be interesting. Anyone out there who's listening, and we're on StreamYard. So, if you could just say your name too, if you make a comment. Do you feel like you have some I don't even know how to ask the question, some energy that is misaligned with your finances? Do you feel like it could shift to benefit you more? Because I know myself, and as you're sitting here talking, I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I know I've been resistant. I grew up with those same mindsets. And it's not just from our parents. I think it was from society.
Yeah.
Because I remember a lot of girlfriends talking about, oh, I have to go marry somebody who has a lot of money or blah, 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 blah. And, and as life turns out too, you have things that happen along the way. You may become widowed or divorced, or, somebody loses a job or whatever. So you may also be transitioned into a new position where you do need to make money. And it's like, oh my gosh, how is this? How are those doors going to open? How are we going to get away from resistance and to let go of some of those things? But like you were talking about, you have to understand what those are to let go.
Yeah.
And that's where you come in. That's where the help comes in because we can't always identify that ourselves.
No, and it's really complicated. The other thing I'll share too is that there's varying degrees and varying layers. So there are certain beliefs or old mindsets that upon realizing them, just with awareness alone, you'll think to yourself, oh, that's an old thing. I don't need to carry that around. I'll let it go. And then a lot of times, that will work. But what's also true is a lot of times things are much more, much deeper. And oftentimes they're not so one level linear. A lot of times there's sort of an enmeshment of multiple things at once. And I'll give you just a couple examples actually of one that I caught myself in recently. I'll share with you that the reason why I'm so passionate about this and this is such a hot button for me is because my family grew up with a lot of struggle, a lot of scarcity, a lot of struggle. And it was just what I was brought up through. And that really impacted my viewpoint on what was possible for me, what was okay for me, what it meant to be successful. There were times in my life when I got really, really successful as well. And then I watched my entire environment totally freak out and reject me. And guess what happened? Then all of a sudden I started sabotaging it. So I've done a lot of work in this area because it's a personal journey that I've had to traverse myself. And it's something that, so many of us we really want to be vigilant about and make sure we have everything really clean and tight. Just recently I had a memory that popped up. And one of the things I always encourage people to do is to think about what were some of the experiences that really shaped your understanding of what you believed money to be or what you believed you could have. And I thought of a memory that just randomly popped in. We lived near, it's funny, we lived near a Fred Meyer within walking distance of my house. And when my mom let us be a little more independent, sometimes we could walk there and we could go there and we could walk around. And, when you're, might have been 11 or 12 or something, and we were walking around. But what I remember doing is walking through the store and knowing I don't get to have any of this. And that was just what was ingrained in us. Whenever we went anywhere to shop in a mall, when we were in a big store, you don't get anything. Like, we were basically told before we went in the store. And mostly I understand why my mom did it, because she didn't want to be like, can I have this? Can I have that? Like, it was just known, you get nothing. You get nothing. So what do you think happened? Unfortunately, as a child, I internalized that, and I had a viewpoint, and this is how these things work, is that something can happen to you as a child, and then you don't realize that you're internalizing a belief, and then that belief gets played out for decades. And this is what's so dangerous about this. And so I have had to work through, it sounds so silly, it sounds so ridiculous, because now as an adult, I can go buy whatever I want, but I had to work through this, this layer of believing like I don't get to have anything. And I really kind of came back from my upbringing. Whenever we would go into a store, you don't get anything.
Yeah.
You can watch other people have it, but you don't get it.
Yes. I have some similar memories growing up. It's like we were not even allowed to go into Nordstrom's.
Oh, yeah.
We could go into JCPenney, but we couldn't go into Nordstrom's. And I remember, I grew up in an area where there were some affluent people, and they would go into J. Jacobs. I don't know if anybody else remembers J. Jacobs.
I do.
And I couldn't shop there.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'd go with these girlfriends who came from wealth.
Yep.
And I'm like, I would like to shop there one day. But as you were talking too, I find it interesting, because this is another thing, that self-sabotage.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you're starting to do well, but then you almost self-sabotage, whether it be around worth. Am I worthy of this? I mean, so many of these things, it's like I didn't have it before. I find it fascinating. It's like, where did we even come up with this stuff?
You're right. I mean, that's what's so crazy. And actually, I love you brought that up too, because there's some really key hot buttons that we're always looking for. They tend to really evolve around, am I worthy of this?
Mm-hmm.
And who told you that you weren't? And what experience made you think that you weren't? Admire, like, you don't get anything, you get nothing. And then, am I deserving of it? Deserving is really tricky, because we really are deserving, but the mindset around deserving gets really slippery, because there's sort of this undertone where people assume, if I get it, then somebody else doesn't get it. And then who am I to have? But it's actually not true. Like, that's actually an accidental association. And that is something that happens again and again and again with some of these abundance blocks and these financial energetic enmeshments, is that there's associations that happen accidentally, but then they get internalized as a belief, and then they get played out. And what's crazy is a lot of these beliefs all come from childhood, mostly. They can come from beyond that, but childhood is usually where we look. In addition to, it was worthy, it was deserving, do I have value? A lot of this one, everyone just goes, oh. That's a huge one, because we were all taught different things about how we're allowed to value ourselves and what's okay and what's not. And these are kind of the three bedrock ones that I'm always looking for. But as you mentioned, the self-sabotage is interesting as well, because it's almost like the subconscious is always trying to keep you safe, but safe in a way that aligns with what those beliefs are. So even though on the outside, it would be absurd for me to completely sabotage my success because my friends and family rejected me the first time it happened, consciously, I was like, obviously I wouldn't do that. Obviously I worked through that. Obviously this is okay. And I own it. Clearly something within me did not feel that way, because you can take all the steps, you can do all the things. And this is something we really look for as well, is everything else fine, but yet you're sabotaging yourself. And that usually happens when there is some type of a belief, like it's not okay for me to succeed, it's not okay for me to have this. One of the things I clear often with women is it's not okay for me to be seen, known. It's not okay for me to get attention. We were not, I mean, our upbringings were at different times, but I would imagine that what I was squashed as a young girl, I would imagine that your generation was dramatically squashed.
Yes. And that still comes up.
Yeah.
I was asked when I started showing up on social media, it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you being seen? Somebody said, people will see you. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of important to them, but yes. So yes, I just want to pause here. So we do have somebody watching, and it might be a couple different people, but yes, they're saying this is so true. Yes, that worthy and deserving are words that are hitting.
Yeah.
And and another one too is that enough.
Yeah.
Am I enough?
That one's a huge one. These are, guys, this is where it's all going down. Like we always kind of want to start down there with the deserving, the worthy, the value, and the enoughness and the enoughness. And a lot of these things, I guess if I just say one thing too, it is so important that people understand that this is not their fault. Like this is the conditioning that all of us are working to release. When I work with clients, I see this stuff, and it's pretty staggering to recognize how all these little pieces get enmeshed. And we're all just, trying to grow up and learn how to live in the life. Like it's not, and our parents, bless their hearts, they didn't know better.
Right.
No.
Yes. So I'm so glad, as I talked this when I first opened up today, revolutionizing the way women show up. And it's creating, tapping into these other women who can help us do that. Let's show up in a totally different way, because you know what? People don't expect that of us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Let's just get out there, and with Hillary, with your help and stuff. So one thing that I'd be interested in knowing is kind of give us just a quick example of what it would feel like. What would people experience coming and working with you? Let's say it's around that worth or something. What is it? Do you have like a system, or is it what would people experience there?
Yeah. So one of the things that I do, I have a variety of, so as I mentioned, all of this happens in layers. There's a lot that just with awareness, if I kind of point you to how this works and what to take a look at, you can work through a lot of it. And I do have a free abundance blocks diagnostic tool. That's a quiz that you can take to see what might be getting in the way. And once you have that, there's a guide that you can follow, and it gives you some prompts and some questions and things you can work through it. What's also true, though, is that a lot of these are very deeply enmeshed, and they're kind of buried, and they're kind of, it's like, I like to describe it like Christmas lights that got thrown in a box, and then you pull it out and it's a ball and you have to untangle. In general, most people have a lot of that going on. So I, as an energy healing practitioner, I have a special type of session, a special type of offering where I work specifically on the abundance blocks, especially on what we do is we work together and we uncover your personal narrative. We're basically looking at your personal history and your blueprint for how you and your energy are able to receive abundance. And so that's where I'm looking at some of these experiences that happen as a child. I'm looking at what were your parents communicating to you and teaching you? What was okay for you at that time? I'm looking at what their experiences were and what potentially some of their blocks were. And what we're doing is we're really trying to determine, how did you receive that and what might be snagged for you? I like the term snag because it's all like, it can all be addressed and all be released. And what we're doing is we're going in and we are resolving it. And there's a variety of ways we do that. But what's really interesting is once we've released it, the response is pretty similar, where people say, it's like I observed it happening, but it just doesn't bother me. Like I don't know. I mean, literally, like we'll start a session and someone will be just erupting with the stress, and we go through it and we touch, we poke at the trauma, we get it to release, and we have this like nice safe place for all of this healing and this releasing to happen. And then an hour or two later they're like, yeah, I don't know why I was so upset about that. And then the reason is because when we release that energetic charge, it's almost like a sting, and we get it out, you're like, oh, whoa, I don't need to carry that anymore. And I can clearly just go do what's next for me.
So then the other stuff that's coming at you kind of hits your invisible bubble and bounces back off.
Exactly. You don't have to field it, basically. It's like someone can throw it at you and you're like, that's not mine. Yeah.
Okay.
You're like, toss away. Not my problem.
Oh my gosh. Just think of what we could do if we could change that energy and move forward. Oh, I absolutely love it. Yes. We have some. Can you see that comment? Are you saying you do
therapy? I'm not familiar with that, so the answer is probably no.
I don't know what that is either. So maybe the person who is chatting with us can explain that a little bit more. But yeah, so yeah, we have the. I didn't know I could post the comments on the screen. So
I was like, wow, that's big. Well, actually, I'll just in case a person is curious, like what modalities I use and how I work. So I have a little bit of a combination. So I'm a Reiki master and I'm an advanced theta healer, but the process is kind of actually more intuitive to me. I think it also kind of relates to hypnosis slightly, but it's sort of like a soul regression type experience. And we take you into a theta brain state, and we're going basically through your childhood. I'll just give like a teeny little. Yeah, we start the sessions basically just doing what I say, like mapping the blueprint and understanding your personal history and seeing what was going on. And when I do that, what I'm looking for is I'm having you speak, I'm asking questions, and I'm really trying to see what patterns might be there. Where could this have gotten snagged, and from whom, and how, and what ricocheted off what to connect to this, to connect to that. And usually, and the idea is to find the root. And there's usually a handful with every one of the different arenas, the different aspects of what goes on. It's usually not just one. It's usually just a handful. And we're looking for the roots. And then once we find that, then I take you through a process where we go and we start to resolve that root.
Yeah.
Is that helpful?
Yes, that is. And I'm creating a mental picture as you're doing this. And I see you walking down this path where maybe your dress gets caught on a thorn bush. And you're walking and you're helping to unsnag that. I love that word. Snag, because it's not like it's stuck. It's, it's like just snag. We just need to adjust it. Mm-hmm. And then we can move forward. And then maybe it gets snagged on something else, and you help walk that path forward. So I love that. And she's asking, how do we get an appointment?
Get in touch with me, dear friend. So HillaryBassettRoss.com. You can find information on my sessions there. Or if you want to leave your name and I can reach out to you directly and we can connect and set something up, that's absolutely possible too.
Yes. Hillary, this was so enlightening. And just to know that there is how important our energy is and what we're doing, that it can change and it can become work for us.
Absolutely. I think one thing I'd love to add too is that when we have challenges with money, there sort of becomes this like viewpoint of like we're angry at money, almost like money is like this cool kid who won't be friends with us.
Yeah.
Or there's like I need to be better in order for me to, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on. And what I always want to encourage people to just open to is that all of those old mindsets can be released, and money is not mean or rude, or, it is just a neutral flow. And the more that we can recognize, like, oh, it's a neutral flow, and I can move beyond whatever I was experiencing in the past, the easier it is to start to step into a different paradigm.
Excellent. Excellent. Oh, Hillary, fabulous. At first, so the first step the women should do is go take your little quiz. And what was it called again?
The Abundance Blocks Identifier, and you
Yes.
can find that on manifestabundance.academy. There's a little intro video, and you can then take the quiz.
Okay, and let's put the link in the comments when we're off here today, so they can just go right to it, because that sounds like a great first step.
Perfect.
Hillary, thank you for coming and joining us today. So fascinating. What an incredible topic. So I hope that the ladies will reach out to Hillary and just say hello and see if this is something that, maybe that you need to work on.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for having me. It's so fun to chat with you about this, Karen.
Oh, absolutely. So ladies, we go live every Wednesday, and we are talking with the experts, and you can ask them questions. We want you to connect with the women here at FAVE, and Hillary, it's just been a joy. So we will see you all next week.